Welcome everyone to Checkpoint 2. We're just going to start right with the action, and this time we are going to start with Gunwitch, because Gunwitch is one of the better solo characters for Checkpoint 2, and you'll get to see most of, well, all of what this checkpoint has to offer in this, and then we'll get into other characters. So we start out with two spider queens and a bunch of their little spiders. So you need to kill every single one of these little spiders in order to damage the spider queens. They're immune to damage otherwise. And Gunwitch isn't the best at it, but she has her net, which is good AoE, and good damage with Witch's Broom. Now, what our goal here is we're going to get both of the spider queens down and vulnerable for damage, and then we're going to hit one of them to get it back active. That way we can split them up and we don't have to deal with two spider queens at once. And what you'll notice is with the webs are basically, they exist mostly just to make you lose your cooldowns. As you can see, when I'm getting webbed, they last for a quarter of a second at most. So getting webbed isn't an instant death sentence, but it is going to put everything on cooldown. So we took care of one spider, and now the other one's back up because we left it alone for long enough. But since we only have one spider queen to deal with, it's not terribly difficult. We just need to slap Witch's Curse into its crystal there, get it back up so that we can continue cycling it. Back away, wait for the net cooldown, and I missed my net. Trust me guys, I'm good at the game. So as you can see, it's just running around to kill all the little dudes and then using your abilities to nuke the main crystal to repeat the cycle. It's fairly straightforward, but like I said, Gunwitch is not the best at crowd control, so it takes a little bit to kill all the little guys. But there is the first part of Checkpoint 2. Now, the second checkpoint begins with the Genie King going into his lamp, but all four mini heroes spawn. And you're going to want to get rid of these guys because they're just annoying. And the apprentice can mana bomb you, and well, you don't want a piece of that mana bomb. So we're just going to kill these guys before we worry about the Genie King. So we're going to spawn Genie King, and he is going to spawn a bunch of little Jinlets. And he will also spawn two Goblin Copters. And those little Jins are going to turn those Goblin Copters gold, which is why you usually want to get rid of those while you're killing the Genie King. And Gunwitch doesn't have a big problem dealing with the Genie King because, like you see here, you just run around in a circle, use Witch's Curse on cooldown, and he doesn't phase, so it's not a big deal. Next is going to be kind of the first wall for most people, which is two Krakens at the same time. What you're going to want to do here, you want to aim for the tentacles. They have little enough HP on Nightmare that using a Witch's Broom and 2-for-1 Gunwitch is capable of actually knocking the tentacles off. And between Witch's Curse and your net ability, Gunwitch is fully capable of taking out Krakens in Nightmare. So as you can see, I've already cycled one of the Krakens, and I'm going to kill this first Kraken to show that you can do it. I did not finish this checkpoint with Gunwitch because I didn't want to have to reset checkpoint 2. Well, I didn't want to have to go through Nightmare TBR like 5 times because I'm not good enough at checkpoint 4 to do that. So I'm going to kill one of these Krakens, and then we're going to move on to the next character. But as you can see, you just focus on shooting the tentacles, and eventually we'll get them down. And using the net will help knock the tentacles down. But I'm more focused on shooting them with the Witch's Broom, and there we go. I need to aim my Witch's Curse properly. And there you go. So Gunwitch is fully capable of doing CP2. So now that we've shown that, we are going to move on to the next character. So Series EV. Poor Series EV. This is going to be the last you're going to see of this character for the rest of the series. Series EV is actually very good at killing the Spider Queens. And the reason for that is obviously Proton Charge Blast. So what we're going to do is we are simply going to just beam down all of the Spiderlings. And as you can see, it just opens these guys up for a bunch of damage really easily, and it refills your mana instantly. So we're just going to get one up, but once you get good enough with Series EV, you can actually just keep cycling the Spider Queens 2 at a time. But as you can see, they're already down. Look at that. We've already cycled it. Now we're going to cycle the Spiderlings again, and we've got full mana. This is actually the best use of Series EV in Nightmare TBR, and it's really the only thing you should be using it for if you decide to use it, but the problem is it's another character to make. So, but that is one Spider Queen down, and that went really quickly. Series EV is just really good at this. Here you go, there's another cycle. And normally Spider Queen just has so much HP that it kind of just bodies Series EV, but no, not in Checkpoint 2. It's not the same. So once again, here we go. Charge Beam, wipe out all the little mini spiders. And of course the web got me at the end there, so I've just gotta shoot the Spider Queen in the chest. And last cycle. And there you go. So since I mentioned with the Gunwitch that Genie King does not cycle, one would think that you could use Series EV for Genie King on Checkpoint 2. Well, so in the start, in order to get rid of the crystalline heroes, absolutely. I mean, these guys just melt. I mean, boom, they're all gone. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cancel my Charge Blast, and I'm going to wait on the cooldown so that I can get a full beam duration on Genie King, because it takes quite a bit of time before he's going to pop out of the lamp, so I can just do this uninterrupted. So here we go. Pop the lamp. Gonna fill up the Charge Beam mana. And here we're going to run into a little issue. You can see those 1.5 million damage ticks. Yeah. This is the biggest problem that EV has, so we're just going to move on to Apprentice. The damage reduction on Genie King is kind of ridiculous. Series EV is entirely useless against Checkpoint 2. But Apprentice is once again a fairly safe choice for Checkpoint 2, much like Checkpoint 1, because you can do that, and you wipe out most of the Spiderlings just about instantly. So we're going to knock down both spiders, and we're going to cycle the spider that went down first, so we get the most amount of time before the other spider gets back up. So here we go. Another mana bomb, knock a bunch of HP off of them. We can cycle it really easily this way. And as long as your mana bomb is not basically directly aimed at the other Spider Queen's crystal, I mean, Apprentice is just really good at cycling. So, and here we come, another mana bomb. And the fact that Apprentice can now move while casting mana bomb is the only reason this works, by the way. Make sure you are in motion while you're casting mana bomb, otherwise you're going to you're not going to make it. So Genie King, just like Gunwitch, you're not going to have too hard of a time. You're going to just kill off these little dudes. And you can see my the staff on Eagle Crested Standard is starting to bear its ugly head, with shots going over the head of the crystalline heroes. But here we go, it's more of the same. You just walk around in a circle shooting stuff. And here we go, get rid of the golden goblin copters before they start causing issues. And you can just see how Apprentice melts Genie King. However, unlike Love Machine, switching to Frost Staff is not going to fix the problems Apprentice has with Krakens. Apprentice can do a lot of damage to Krakens. If you use an Ember Staff or a Lumeric Staff, you might actually be able to do Krakens fairly well. I don't believe I have one set up for that, and I didn't test it. But as you can see here, I'm simply not doing enough damage to Kraken tentacles. So this will be over shortly, and we'll be moving on to the next character. So with Series EV and Apprentice, unlike Gunwitch, you're going to have to swap to another character for Checkpoint 2. So returning to characters that can go through the entirety of the checkpoint, we are going to be using Hermit now. So Hermit, good mobility, and a few other nice little properties that we'll talk about. So the first thing, Thorn Shot, kills bunches of little spiders. And the other thing is that while Hermit is using his Whirlwind Spin, he is immune to webs, which makes him very, very good at killing Spider Queen, because when you need to kill the spiderlings, you just spin, and all of a sudden you can no longer get webbed, and you can knock Spider Queen down really, really easily. As you can see, you just knock her down, Thorn Shot, and you get the cycle, and then you just need to wait on your Whirlwind cooldown. And that's what happens when you don't wait on the Whirlwind cooldown. And there we go. One Spider Queen down. So now it's just waiting on this other Spider Queen so we can start cycling again. And there we go. And as you can see, with as low as I am, Hermit just doesn't care, because Whirlwind lets him basically ignore the fact that the webs exist. So we'll finish this up here, and then get on to the Genie King. So moving on to the Genie King. First of all, you have the mini heroes. Really, the only thing you need to worry about for these guys is the Mana Bomb from the Apprentice and the Hawkshot for the Huntress. Huntress and Apprentice are already dead because Thorn Shot is incredibly strong, and Hermit puts out enough DPS that it's not an issue. Now, for Genie King itself, this is going to mostly just be a rerun of the Goblin mechs from checkpoint 1. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to wait for, Nature's Gift to come off a cooldown, and then I'm going to activate the Genie King fight. So Thorn Shot, Nature's Gift, start spinning, and zoom out. And just keep your mouse on the Genie King at all times, and Thorn Shot when it's not on cooldown. And that's really just going to be the entirety of this fight. Again, I'm awful at Hermit. I deeply apologize for anyone who's good at Hermit that has to watch this. So, but it's mostly the same. When the tongue comes out, it's a lot like the spin from the Goblin mechs, and for the rest of it, you just run around with your mobility. There's a Thorn Shot, just let the tick damage do its work. And another Thorn Shot's up, and there go the thorns, and there we go. Hermit OP. So moving on to Krakens, Hermit is actually capable of doing Krakens, but you need to be good at using the character, and I'm not. So basically you need to land Thorn Shot on the tentacles, and you can see I actually got rid of 4 tentacles on that Kraken right there with a single Thorn Shot, and I'm not going to land a single another Thorn Shot basically after this. So it's entirely possible to do this, to solo Nightmare CP2 with Hermit. It's actually fairly easy if you have decent aim. And as you can see, like I just goofed that really bad. So I'm just going to let this play out as a proof of concept, I suppose. And then we will move on to probably the most reliable Kraken killer for Nightmare CP2 once this is all over with. So, good old Monk. This is probably the most reliable way to do checkpoint 2 in its entirety, possibly aside from Gunwitch. However, as I will show you with Krakens, you are going to want to swap up your weapon and pet choice. But, I mean, as you can see, my Zamira mount just wipes everything really, really quickly. And really, you don't even need to do anything as the monk against Spider Queens. You just run around and let your pet do all the work. I mean, even with no hero boost, my Zamira mount, which is only a 54k, I believe, not that great. I mean, it's not hard to get a better sea drag than that. I mean, you just run around in a circle, and what's the Spider Queen gonna do about it? Not much. So there you go, 1 Spider Queen done. And now we just need to cycle Spider Queen number 2, and we will get on to Genie King. Alright, so Genie King. First order of business, like always, we have to get rid of the mini heroes because they are annoying. However, since we have a Zamir mount or Sea Drag or whatever you want to use, it's probably not going to miss, and it's going to have a really easy time getting rid of these guys. As you can see, they're all gone, so it's time to move on to Genie King. And Monk doesn't have a big issue dealing with Genie King. All the Djinns get killed by your pet. All the Goblin Copters get killed by your pet. And the Genie King just doesn't have anything he can really do to you in order to stop you from dealing damage, because he doesn't phase or anything. So this is really easy part for the Monk. Now, moving on to Krakens, we're actually going to swap up our loadout. We're going to put on a mini Wasp Queen pet and an Ogre Party hat in order to deal with Krakens. Instead of an Ogre Party hat, you can also get a Honey Spear. It'll have roughly the same effect. So a normal pet like a Sea Drag or a Zamir mount doesn't necessarily have enough splash to hit the tentacles if it hits Kraken head on, so it may not actually do any useful damage for you in terms of getting rid of the tentacles, whereas a mini Wasp Queen has a massive amount of pierce, and you can see from how it's attacking Kraken, and it's just going all the way through, that it's getting the damage in. And the same applies to Ogre Party Hat and Honey Spear. So really, in theory, you could just farm a bunch of Infested Ruins wave 35 and get a loadout for your Monk to do this. I just happen to have a really good Ogre Party Hat. But as you can see, it doesn't really have a hard time dealing with Kraken tentacles or even the core itself at all. And this is one of the reasons why Monk is among one of the best characters to do checkpoint 2 with. Welcome to the second episode in Barbarian Absolutely Breaks the Game. So, I didn't explain much in the last video, and it also didn't look that bad in the last video. But now you're going to see just how absurd this setup really gets. So, the pet I'm using, for those who don't know, is called the Jack-in-the-Box. It's an event pet, and instead of scaling off its damage off of your hero damage, it scales it off of your tower damage. So you can't buff it with a cat or anything. It's a set amount of damage, which is why I had so much tornado stance in that last video. The problem is that the way it works, it just works too well. So when you use the Amazonian Barbarian skin, and you have a Jack-in-the-Box, you can just turtle stance, and the pet just kills everything for you. So, and since you're Amazon Barb, when you turtle stance, you actually still have a bunch of movement speed. So you can like you can see I'm actually running down the Crystalline Huntress with this setup. This is kind of just ridiculous. So right here I'm using 2 movement speed weapons, Corrupted Axe. One of them is actually fully upgraded into tower damage, and the other one is, I don't know, 183k weapon. But really all that I care about is do I have turtle stance or not. So oh look, turtle stance is up. I'm just gonna heal, and it's time to start beating on Genie King again, because I can just do that. And there you go. And it works the same way with Krakens. It doesn't matter. It's like, oh, there's a Kraken, let me just
turn on turtle stance, and the Jack in the Box just kind of kills things. This is really just kind of filthy, and I'm not sure whether to laugh or to cringe at the fact that this works as well as it does, but here you go, guys.